Hello Star Citizens, BuzZz here, and welcome back to the channel. So yesterday, the 29th of September, CIG started a concept sale for their new flagship science vessel, the MISC Endeavor. Along with the concept sale, they gave us another design post by everyone's favorite persistent universe director, Tony Zurovec. Now, while the design post was a bit small compared to some of Tony's other posts, it was still chock full of some really great info. So in this video, I'll be going over the Endeavor and its roles, and then we'll talk a little bit about pricing and whether or not you should purchase one of these ships for yourself. So let me start off by saying that this ship is absolutely massive. With a length of 200 meters and weighing in at 1,000,000 kilos without even any modules installed, this ship falls somewhere between the Orion mining vessel and the Idris frigate. Now, it's a completely modular design which allows for a large variety of equipment to be installed, basically to meet just about any scientific or medical role you could ask of it. The base ship comes in 3 sections or stages. The front section, or Stage 1, is the Armoured Explorer module. This is a detachable and almost completely self-sufficient vessel that is designed to withstand just about any extreme environment you can think of. While the Explorer does include shields, its own weapons, power, and 2 main thrusters, it's not clear if it'll have its own quantum drive or jump drive, so it may be reliant on the rest of the ship to travel long distances. Stage 2 is the Modular Workshop. This is where you attach the various pods that dictate the vessel's role in the verse. It utilizes a 3x2 grid system for attaching those pods. The pods that are currently available range in size from 2x1 to 2x2. Some of the pods have a maximum limit you can install at one time. This is probably due to space and/or power requirements. They've also hinted at the possibility for future pods that may take up all 6 slots. Stage 3 is the main drive unit. Not only does this section house the 7 massive main thrusters, but it also includes a remote turret and a capital class power plant in order to run the workshop. The main drive unit is slave to the Explorer, so it will be unable to maneuver on its own without that module being attached. Now let's take a look at the pods that are currently up for sale. First off, you have the Biodome. Now if you ever wanted to grow plants in space, this is the pod for you. It's a 2x1 pod with 2 domes, and you can only have 2 of the pods installed at any given time, which gives you a total of 4 domes to work with. In the design post, they call this the Organics module. Now let me read you the following excerpt. The Organics module allows for various forms of plant life to be grown in a tightly controlled environment and harvested for profit. The basic requirements for farming are soil, fertilizer, seeds, and water, all of which can be purchased at a garden supply store that will be located in most major landing zones, or in some cases even mined or otherwise extracted from the environment. Farming is a labor-intensive process that requires a fairly meticulous attention to detail. There are 2 parts to the basic puzzle: ascertaining exactly what a particular plant species requires in order to thrive, and giving that to them at the appropriate time. The variables include the quality of the soil, the type of fertilizer, the temperature, the amount of water, and the type and quality of radiation, or sunlight. Some plants may even require light from a nebula or a specific type of star, so it's a pretty involved process. And basically, space farming will be an entire career unto itself. You'll have to learn the best way to grow each type of plant in order to produce the best quality and thus the highest profit. Of course, you'll also have to figure out how to move your perishable goods to the appropriate market before they spoil. The next pod we have is the Telescope Array. This is another 2x1 pod, but this one is limited to 1 installation per ship, probably due to the massive power requirements to run it. In order to function profitably, this pod will also likely require you to install a general science pod, but more on that later. In the design post, this pod is referred to as the Discovery Module. Here's another excerpt. The Discovery Module is geared towards the aspiring astronomer. It contains a powerful 16-meter telescope mounted on a rotatable base that is capable of scanning the heavens in the infrared, visible, and gamma spectra, as well as dual ejection ports for an array of long-range probes. Wayward comets, asteroid fields rich in valuable ore, derelict ships worth a fortune to a salvager, and primordial black holes that are the holy grail for scientific research are just a few of the things that a patient observer might eventually discover. This is obviously going to be another full-time job, and it would make for an ideal pod for an aspiring pioneer or explorer. You'll be able to search for points of interest without actually having to travel around as much as a ship that relies on less sophisticated sanding equipment, say like a constellation Aquila. Now, as I said, if you want to use this module properly, you'll likely require a general science module to convert the data into something usable and sellable on the market. And it might also be a good idea to equip a landing bay. That would allow you to put a herald in or some other courier that will allow you to deliver or transmit that data. Next up, we have the Super Collider. This pod looks like something straight out of 2001: A Space Odyssey. Basically, it's used as a workshop for overclocking ship components such as weapons, shields, and thrusters. This should be a very profitable pod, as I'm sure there will always be a market for top-end gear. Think of this as your mobile crafting table from other MMOs or RPGs. The next pod we have is the Medical Bay. Now, this is a very large 2x2 grid pod which acts as a mobile spawn point, as well as a place for players to go to get full medical treatment. So you've got a limb blown off, you could get a bio replacement or a mechanical replacement, or you're bleeding out. This is where you go to get fully healed. This pod is intended to work alongside of the landing bay pod, which will not only house multiple Cutlass Reds for search and rescue and ambulance operations, but also as a way for respawn players to acquire a small ship and get quickly back into the action. So the respawn system will allow the player to select any hospital to respawn in with a small fee. Optionally, they'll be able to choose a mobile respawn point, such as your medical bay, where the fee is set by you, the owner. If the owner also has the attached landing bay pod, the player will then be able to order a replacement ship, as long as that ship fits in the bay. The owner will have to pay for that ship, but can also choose to charge the player for the service, so they can either make a small profit or maybe just break even in the case of an org mate. That about wraps up the more specialized pods. Other pods include the landing bay, which we've already discussed. It's of course a 2x1 pod capable of supporting multiple Cutlass-sized ships and is limited to one per Endeavor. There is also the service equipment and crew pod, which adds additional crew facilities, allowing the workshop to function as a standalone installation without the Explorer for longer missions. The General Research Pod is a multi-use facility that can support a variety of active scientific pursuits, including acting as a drug lab for creating legal or illegal substances. The General Science Pod is an analytic module with installation points for a variety of scientific computers and data banks. This pod converts the raw information gathered by the research pod or the telescope into valuable data for sale or trade. And finally, we have the fuel pod, which is pretty much self-explanatory. Now that we've gone over all the pods and ship options, let's talk about pricing. Now, all pricing here is going to be in US dollars and does not include any taxes. That being said, there are several ways to purchase your dream Endeavor. You can either buy everything separately a la carte, or you can purchase a package at a small discount. The base Endeavor comes in at $350 and comes with absolutely no pods attached. The pods are of course priced as follows. The Biodome is $100 and comes with, as I said, 2 domes. The Telescope Array and Super Collider each cost $125. The Medical Bay and Landing Bay are $75 each. The General Research Pod and General Science Pods are both $45, and the Fuel Pod is $35. Oh, and the Crew Pod, which is $25. If you prefer to buy a pre-built Endeavor, there are 3 options to go with. First, the Discovery class, which includes a Crew Pod, General Research Pod, and a General Science Pod, and costs $425. Now this will save you $40 over buying everything separately. The Hope class medical ship comes with a medical bay and landing bay, and costs $450. This bundle will save you $50 over buying everything separately. The Olympic class agricultural ship costs $500 and comes with 2 Biodome pods, giving you a total of 4 domes to work with, and also saves you $50. And finally, you have the Master Set, which comes with the base hull and 1 of each pod. This set comes in at a whopping $900, but it will also save you $100 over buying everything separately. So overall, this is a pretty expensive ship, but you have to remember, all these ships will be available in the final game for in-game credits. The only reason to purchase one of these ships is if A, you want to continue to fund development, and B, you have the disposable income available. That being said, this is one huge ship, and will be the epitome of science vessels in the verse. Personally, I'm going to give this one a pass, and if I decide the science interests me, I'll work towards it in the persistent universe. Well, that about wraps things up here. I hope you enjoyed the video, or at least found it informative. If you did, please hit that like or subscribe button, share the video with your friends, and don't forget to leave your comments below. Until next time, this has been BuzZz, and I'll see you guys in the verse.